Aloy the man-hater? Woke propaganda? Sweet Baby Incorporated? Reptilians in the government? Wait.
When will it stop?
I just recently finished Horizon Forbidden West, and it only took me 8,000 hours. It cost me a marriage because I kept calling my wife Aloy. Not a lot, just, maybe like only a few hundred times. And all my friends stopped talking to me because obviously I kept calling them Aloy. Just kidding, I never had any friends. Before I buy any game, I usually peruse the reviews to see if I could find commonalities in them. Naturally, I read both positive and negative reviews. While perusing the negative ones, I did find a few common threads that really stuck with me. 1. The game was overwhelmingly female, often quoted at greater than 90%. 2. The second half of the game was full of diversity, equity, and inclusion characters, mostly gay or female characters according to the reviews. 3. Aloy is a man-hater. 4. Sweet Baby Incorporated worked on this game. Essentially wokeness, which has been becoming a more prominent buzzword on just about every game, especially in the past couple of years or so, something like that. I've even seen people refer to Ghost of Tsushima as woke because the women ain't sexy enough. And it's likely you'll see someone that will say this on any future release, at least for the foreseeable future, because that's usually how social movements work. They have a pistol at first, and then over time they upgrade to a fully automatic rifle, just firing at every little thing they see. Both sides do this. We see it all the time, just constant noise. Now, just to put it out there, I'm not on any side. I'm not anti-woke. I'm not woke. I'm still very tired from this morning and yesterday, and pretty much every morning in the past 30 years. I'm probably gonna die soon. In any case, I wanted to see if their criticisms had any merit, or was all this just evidence of another case of socialized brainwashing?
Indoctrinated into the cult of anti-woke.
I focused on reviews that used language commonly associated with anti-woke views, specifically if they described the game as having woke or DEI elements in a negative way. I included them in the analysis. Language such as woke agenda, leftist agenda, political agenda, LGBTQ agenda, forced agenda, media agenda, woke hand, the message, Horizon woke west, lesbians don't care about men, Tabasco enema, to name just a few. Before diving in, I use the term sensitivity, and it's important to clarify what I mean. I use it not in the emotional sense, but to describe how aligning with a certain group, such as an anti-woke group, can heighten awareness and skew perceptions regarding the representation of specific groups. Fun, right? So let's dive in. Some reviewers claim that the game features an overwhelmingly female cast, often citing perceptions of over 90% female representation. To maintain objectivity and to minimize biases, I did some number crunching on Aloy's interactions with other characters to try and find if this was true. Specifically, I looked at instances where Aloy spoke to characters for an extended period, mostly during cutscenes and some others where she engages in significant dialogue and interaction. So this would exclude the following minor interactions to ensure that only substantial interactions are counted. Merchants, unless there was a larger interaction, such as the cook from Chainscrape. Rumors, people you meet sitting at camps that tell you locations of things. Strike players, except the first one that teaches you, again, larger interaction. People overseeing the hunting grounds, and Gaia, because she's an AI. I played the PC port version, so these numbers also include the Burning Shores DLC. And the numbers are in. Shocking, right? As you can see, the game was relatively balanced with a slight skew towards male representation. However, it is interesting to note the sensitivity some reviewers felt to female presence in the game. As you can see, there's a roughly 44-point perception gap where some reviewers perceive 90% female presence despite the actual in-game interactions being about 46%. This suggests that they are almost 2 times more sensitive to female interactions. To put this into perspective, if we adjust the female representation based on their sensitivity, it would need to drop to about 24% for them to feel it was balanced. In other words, for every female interaction, they would need to see 3 male interactions for the game to feel balanced for them at about 46%, or 1 in every 4. This highlights a significant discrepancy between perceived and actual representation, with female presence being amplified despite the more even split in the game. The difference in perception highlights the importance of understanding trends in female representation in gaming, which is an increasingly relevant topic. The latest research from the Entertainment Software Association in the United States shows each successive successive generation of female gamers has increased, with younger groups like Gen Alpha almost matching that of their male counterparts. Successive generations also show a growing preference for PC and console gaming, with Gen Alpha and Gen Z leading in this area. Although platform-specific data by generation and gender isn't explicitly detailed in this report, the overall rise in female gaming participation suggests that some of this increased interest in PC and console gaming can be attributed to female players. This shift influences the gaming industry to increase female representation in games as they aim to represent their consumer base, so it's not surprising that we see increasing representation. A recurring point in some reviews is that the game's second half, including the Burning Shores DLC, feels full of DEI representation. Specifically, they mention characters representing the LGBTQ community alongside strong or leadership-focused female characters that fit in the girl boss or independent archetype. While it is accurate that a portion of the characters in the second half of the game reflect LGBTQ identities, this group makes up only about 5% of total major character interactions in the game. Despite this, certain reviewers have perceived LGBTQ representation as overly prominent. Assuming a perceptual bias of 60%, slightly past equal representation, and they quote a figure in one review to represent overly prominent, this would imply that some players are roughly 12 times more sensitive to LGBTQ presence. In other words, only 1 in every 238 characters can be considered in this category to achieve the perceived balance. This stark discrepancy highlights a broader trend in media where the visibility of LGBTQ characters is perceived more prominently than their actual representation might suggest. Separately, 7% of major character interactions involve female characters in roles of strength or leadership, typically possessing notable influence or girlboss qualities. If the perception estimate of 60% applies, it suggests some players are around 8.5 times more sensitive. For these reviewers to perceive this representation at its actual rate of 7%, it would be approximately 1 in every 122 characters. Perceptions are amplified as most of the main female casts fit these representations. Spreading these characters more evenly across the story might help moderate these perceptions. However, it's speculative how much this would reduce the effect without fundamentally altering the game. These representational shifts align with current gaming audience demographics. According to the ESA, 11% of gamers aged 18 and over identify as LGBT, with this perception rising among millennials and Gen Z, 12% and 17% respectively. Furthermore, a 2022 study by Brighter revealed that 56% of female gamers feel there aren't enough strong female characters in games, underscoring a demand for more meaningful roles for female characters that developers have increasingly incorporated into games. I don't need to go into a math rant with this one. The issue isn't about Aloy being a feminist, man-hating lesbian, as some have suggested. Instead, there's a pacing conflict between the open world and the main narrative. Essentially, the world opens up too early. When the game finally opens up after the ambush by Regala, you probably did what most every player did. You explored this massive, beautiful world instead of working through the main storyline, which at that point was still time sensitive, and Aloy should have still been frustrated because she didn't know if a Gaia backup existed yet. Instead, like I did, you'll probably bump into Talana and you'll see the side quest of her dropping everything to help her, which, yeah, doesn't make any sense yet in the storyline if this is the point you encountered it. But she also exhibits this same behavior towards any character, male or female, in the open world that she randomly meets. She just stops to help them. She doesn't reserve it for females only, but males as well, even showing compassion towards several over the course of the game.
How about you slow down and take me through it? Are you hurt? Are you okay?
This even time.
Are you alright?
The disconnect appears because the open world opens up before this time-sensitive quest of finding the Gaia backup and securing the mountain base is resolved, where the storyline and our motivations would logically line up with our choice to slow down and assist others. This is an issue with open world games in general, not only with Horizon. Some games handle it better than others, but it's especially noticeable here given how they handled the time-centric plot, not a sign of man-hating on Aloy's part. For those of you unfamiliar with Sweet Baby Incorporated, they are a narrative development and consultation studio that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion within game narratives. Many of the anti-woke crowds say they promote a woke agenda that is ruining games, pressuring developers into pushing DEI and identity politics, and sacrificing quality in the name of inclusivity. But I could not find any evidence that Sweet Baby Incorporated worked on Horizon. I searched around for anything on this. Even during the endgame credits, there is no mention that they collaborated. Sweet Baby Incorporated doesn't even include this on their own website as something they worked on. Also, there's no articles or interviews that suggest this either. The only thing I found were Reddit forums of people seemingly shaking their hands and patting each other on the back, all in agreement that Sweet Baby worked on this game without even sharing any concrete evidence besides that it seemed like it. To point out, narrative consultants like Sweet Baby Incorporated aren't unique. It's common practice in many industries like film and television to frequently use consultants to ensure authenticity and representation in their narratives. Even if they did contribute to Horizon, could you even say with certainty what contribution they even had on the game? Like, can you point at some random dialogue and be like,
"Yep, they definitely wrote that. Sweet baby fingers all over that one"?
Most likely not. Narrative development is a collaborative process involving multiple writers, directors, and designers. The final product is often a blend of many ideas and styles, making it nearly impossible to pinpoint specific contributions. So attributing the game's narrative direction solely to Sweet Baby Incorporated is an oversimplification of game development. One reason we see developers working with companies like Sweet Baby is because the gaming space is constantly evolving with a growing, more diverse customer base. Consultants can provide insights into current market trends and help developers understand the preferences of various consumer segments, such as women and LGBTQ gamers. This is particularly important in today's gaming industry where consumers increasingly expect authentic representation. This demand means we'll continue to see companies like Sweet Baby collaborating with developers. Looking at these examples, it's clear how easy it is for our views to get shaped by the groups we associate with. Social circles can amplify things to fit a particular view, and that goes both ways. Whether you're in the anti-woke camp or on the progressive side, it's common to zoom in on details that align with the group's values while missing the bigger picture. As we've seen, while some complaints about games might have a tiny basis in reality, they often get blown way out of proportion. The actual numbers show that these elements make up a small part of the whole, but once people lock onto an idea, it sticks and things get exaggerated. And here's the thing, as group movements grow, so do the voices speaking out against anything they think aligns with the other side. We'll likely see even more critiques like these as groups get more organized and vocal. Plus, there's more money to be made from stirring up group support and getting people fired up. It's only human to want to connect with groups that share our views. Most people feel good knowing they're part of something bigger. But every now and then, it's worth stepping back and asking ourselves, are these beliefs really mine? Are they helping me out or making me more stressed? Chatting with people outside your usual circle can sometimes help you get a fresh perspective, and it's a good way to keep yourself grounded. That's it for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you made it here pulled by the black hole that is the YouTube algorithm, thanks. But stop doom scrolling and get some sleep. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Your support goes a long way to help Aloy. Your support goes a long way to help this channel. Until next time.